Automated means that unlike traditional polygraph, EyeDetect Plus can be administered entirely by a computer and scored using a computer algorithm. We call it Plus because it combines the ocular data collected in traditional EyeDetect to the data obtained during a polygraph test, improving both. The traditional test process for polygraph is first, information is gathered and assembled. Second, this information is used to create the test questions. Third, the examinee is prepped for the test with a pre-test interview. Fourth, the test is administered. Fifth, the test is scored. And sixth, a post-test interview may be conducted depending on results to determine if a retest is needed. In polygraph, most of these steps are performed exclusively by a trained examiner, where they also use specific equipment to help collect the data during the test administration. In EyeDetect Plus, the gather information, test creation steps, and the post-test interview will still have to be done by a trained proctor. However, it automates the remaining steps as follows. For the pretest interview, the proctor will do some prep with the examinee, but the automated test will provide the bulk of the pretest instructions. Then test administration can be entirely done by the computer with the needed polygraph data being collected through the add-on physio-tracker equipment. But if desired, the proctor can choose to take manual control of the progression of the test questions through the computer, though the computer still asks them. Scoring is done by a computer algorithm, but there is an option for a trained polygraph examiner to manually score the polygraph data only by exporting it into their polygraph software. This, however, removes the ocular data, which is too complex for manual scoring, and so the published EyeDetect Plus accuracies would not apply. In summary, EyeDetect Plus can fully automate the data collection and scoring of the traditional testing process. The following summarizes some features of EyeDetect Plus. The hardware used to administer a test includes an EyeDetect station or computer and eye tracker, which collect the ocular data, and the add-on PhysioTracker V2 device, which collects the polygraph data during the test. The average test length of an EyeDetect Plus test ranges from 20 to 50 minutes depending on which protocol is used. The mean accuracy also varies by protocol, ranging from 89 to 91%, as long as best practices and policies are followed. EyeDetect Plus supports up to 78 unique language or locales. The person who proctors or administers the test is a trained EyeDetect Plus test proctor. Reading is mostly required for EyeDetect Plus. While a digital voice is used for both the EyeDetect Plus protocols, one does not use the voice for all of the test. And both protocols were conducted with reading behaviors in mind, so accuracy could suffer if the examinee is not also reading the test. Like regular EyeDetect tests, the examinee responds to test questions by clicking a mouse or keyboard button, and the results are found on the online dashboard and are managed by the test provider. If we want to make a more in-depth comparison between polygraph and EyeDetect Plus, first, EyeDetect Plus will use nearly all the same sensors as polygraph, with the main difference being no blood pressure cuff. So it is less invasive. Instead, it uses pulse transit time to derive blood pressure, which is something we will discuss here in a minute. Then, test length for EyeDetect Plus again is between 20 to 50 minutes, while the most common polygraph tests take at least 90 minutes if done correctly. For reliability, which is the consistency and repeatability of test results, EyeDetect Plus treats every test or examinee the same by using the same algorithm each time, so it is more reliable. In polygraph, you can get failing result with one examiner and a passing result with another on the examinee for the same test scenario, making it less reliable. The accuracy depends entirely on the skill of the examiner, which can vary widely. The results for EyeDetect Plus are received in less than 5 minutes. For polygraph, it can take an examiner a few hours to manually score the data, and sometimes results aren't received for weeks depending on backlog, especially for government employees. Bias refers to whether test results can be affected by personal opinion or experience. EyeDetect Plus can be fully automated in its administration and scoring, so it is unbiased. Polygraph is manually administered and scored, so the bias of the examiner could affect the outcome. For EyeDetect Plus, training can be done online by yourself at no extra cost and wouldn't need to take more than 3 to 5 days. For Polygraph, the average training takes about 13 weeks and costs money. On average, the cost for EyeDetect Plus is usually 50% less than it is for Polygraph. For Polygraph, there is a wider range, usually between $400 to $1,200 for a test. The main component that turns EyeDetect into EyeDetect Plus is the PhysioTracker V2. It has various sensors that attach to the station during the test to collect the relevant polygraph data along with the EyeDetect ocular data, combining them for the computer algorithm to score. First, there is a multi-channel sensor, which is the box device that most of the other sensors are attached to, which then connects to the station via a USB port. Every sensor except for the seat pad connects to the station through this box. The seat pad connects separately via a USB-C port. It does not take in data for the algorithm, but is placed on the chair they sit on and merely monitors their movement and compliance during the test. The strain gauge or respiration belt attaches around and under the examinee's chest near their sternum and collects their breathing or respiration during the test. The ECG cables, which stands for electrocardiogram, is attached to the top of each wrist and collects the examinee's heartbeat data. This is used to combine with pulse transit time to get blood pressure. The EDA cable, which stands for electrodermal activity, is attached to the palm side of the pointer and ring fingers and collects their perspiration or sweat response data. The PPG cable, which stands for photoelectric plethysmograph, is clamped onto the middle finger and collects their blood volume pulse data, which is the second component of pulse transit time to derive blood pressure. With the purchase of your PhysioTracker V2 kit, you also get the following items that enable testing. To assist with the application of the ECG, you will receive a roll of skin prep tape and 10 ECG pads. The tape has a sandpaper side that is used to exfoliate the skin before applying the pads. Then the cables are snapped onto the applied pads. 2 pads are used per test and then discarded, so 10 gives you enough use for 5 tests, after which you will need to purchase more. Here are the required specs for the pads. After enough tests, you will also run out of the tape and need to purchase another roll, or you can use sandpaper that has a grit of 320 or higher. There will be an additional green ECG ground lead. This is only needed for unique cases where ECG is too static with just the black and white cables. This is a very rare occurrence, but every person is different, and so their ECG readings can vary. This is applied to the ankle and require exfoliation and an additional ECG pad. To assist with the application of the EDA, you will receive 10 EDA pads, a bottle of EDA replenishing gel, and a roll of medical tape. 2 pads are needed per test, so again, this is enough for 5 tests, after which you need to purchase more. Here are the required specs for the pads. A tiny amount of gel is applied to each pad before the application, so that will also need to be replenished after so many tests. Here are the required specs for the gel. The medical tape is used to secure your pads to the fingers and will eventually run out and need to be restocked as well. Any medical grade tape would suffice. Your kit will come with an information sheet including these specs and various options on where to purchase the replacement items. If your EyeDetect station version is a V4, that is a Dell 14 Pro laptop, or it was purchased after October 2025, you will also receive a USB-C splitter adapter. This helps you to get the needed ports on the laptop so that the seat pad and PhysioTracker can properly connect to it. One end inserts into one of the 2 available USB-C ports, and then the mouse wireless dongle goes into the USB end, and the laptop power cable goes into the USB-C end. The remaining USB-C port on the laptop receives the seat pad, and the other two remaining USB ports on the get the Physio Tracker and the eye tracker. If you're using a Physio Tracker V2 with a V3 station, you'll also need to request an additional splitter and adapter. The splitter goes into the available USB port. On one of its ends goes a USB to USB-C adapter. In that goes the seat pad. In the other end of the splitter goes the wireless dongle for the mouse and keyboard. That leaves the other available USB port on the front of the eye tracker for the eye tracker. In the back, the USB-C port remains for the monitor, and the two USB ports are for the webcam and the Physio Tracker. Now I'd like to explain about pulse transit time, or PTT. EyeDetect Plus can be less intrusive and therefore more comfortable because it replaces the arm cuff to obtain blood pressure using pulse transit time. As previously mentioned, PTT is gained by combining the data received through the ECG and PPG sensors. PTT is the time it takes for a pulse wave to travel from the heart to the finger. This speed is directly proportional to blood pressure. Dr. Andrea Webb, a graduate student of Dr. Kircher and Dr. Raskin, included PTT in a study for her master's thesis in 2006. A discriminant function that included the PTT was as valid as a function that included the electrocardiograph. In addition, the electrocardiograph did not improve the accuracy of the prediction when added to a discriminant function that included the PTT. These scientific results suggest that PTT can be used instead of the electrocardiograph for the detection of deception. This top graph shows PTT and the bottom shows the blood pressure. These data were taken from an examinee at the same time. Notice how PTT is a mirror image of blood pressure. By taking the inverse of PTT, we get BVP, or blood volume pulse. Therefore, PTT is used to replace BVP in an EyeDetect Plus test, but still obtain the same data used in a traditional polygraph. EyeDetect Plus testing experience and process is nearly identical to regular EyeDetect. As a reminder, the experience is that tests are administered in person after making an appointment. The process starts with purchasing the needed equipment, which adds to the station the Physio Tracker V2 and the needed number of test licenses. The Physio Tracker V2 has a 1-year warranty on it. A dashboard account is created where test license usage is managed and test reports are sorted. Then, a test is created to fit the current testing need, following the same rules and policies as a regular EyeDetect test. It just has to be either an MCT or HDLC protocol. The room, station, and Physio Tracker are prepared for the arrival of the examinee. When they do arrive, they are prepped for the test, sensors are attached, and then the test is administered. Like regular EyeDetect, EyeDetect Plus has its own companion software for remotely monitoring tests called EyeDetect Plus Manager. It is also downloaded to a separate device that connects to the station across a wired or wireless network. In addition to monitoring the eyes and tracking the progress of the test, it allows the test proctor to make sure the examinee is being compliant and not moving too much, which will interfere with the Physio Tracker data channels. To learn more about how to use this companion software, please view our EyeDetect Plus Manager videos. Like regular EyeDetect, EyeDetect Plus tests are synced to the online dashboard after a test is administered, where they are scored and results are reviewed. Also available for EyeDetect Plus tests on the dashboard are the Physio Tracker channel charts for the entire test, and an option to download them to a specific format for the polygraph software, where they can be manually scored by a trained polygraph examiner if desired. This option only allows a manual scoring of the polygraph data, not the ocular data, which is too complex for that. That concludes this introduction to EyeDetect Plus. For more details about how to use and apply EyeDetect Plus, please review our various other EyeDetect Test Proctor Plus videos. Thank you.